Just as he was about to speak, there was a knock at the door. Marcus turned, his mind racing. A man walked in, dressed in a sharp suit, holding a briefcase. It was the bank manager. "I'm sorry to interrupt," the man said with a tight smile, "but I believe there's been a misunderstanding about the ownership transfer. It seems there's a complication with the paperwork. It hasn't been processed yet. The dealership is technically still under the previous ownership." The room fell silent. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. The truth hit him like a ton of bricks. He wasn't the owner yet. All his actions, all the decisions, had been built on a lie. He was still just a potential buyer, caught up in a power struggle he wasn't prepared for. The stakes were much higher than he ever imagined. As the shock settled in, Carla stepped forward, her voice steady. "Then I guess it's time we fix this, once and for all." Marcus, caught in the eye of a storm, knew one thing for certain: he wouldn't back down. Not now. Not when everything was on the line. The battle for control of the dealership had just begun, and this was only the beginning of a much bigger fight. The room was still, the weight of the truth hanging heavily in the air. Marcus took a deep breath, his mind racing, but his resolve strengthening. He knew this was his chance to reclaim control. The paperwork could be sorted out, but that wouldn't stop him from taking action. With Carla and Alex now standing by his side, he had allies who were ready for the change he promised. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, legal battles, and behind-the-scenes negotiations. Slowly but surely, Marcus cleared up the confusion with the bank, officially securing ownership. Greg was removed from his position after a thorough investigation revealed his role in the sabotage, while Carla took a leadership role in reshaping the dealership's culture. By the end, the dealership wasn't just a business. It was a symbol of resilience, fairness, and the power of change. Marcus had not only reclaimed control, but he had proven that integrity and vision could outlast even the toughest battles. Imagine stepping outside to enjoy a peaceful afternoon by your own pool, only to have someone demand that you leave. That's exactly what happened to Marcus, a hard-working man just trying to relax at his apartment complex. But things took a shocking turn when a woman, let's call her Karen, walked up to him, questioning why he was there. At first, Marcus thought it was a simple misunderstanding. Maybe she mistook him for a guest. But as the conversation continued, it became clear she didn't believe he lived there. She insisted he prove his residency, even though she had no authority to ask. As tension built, other neighbors began to notice. Cameras started recording, and what happened next left everyone speechless. Was justice served? Did Marcus get the last word? Stay tuned, because this story takes an unexpected twist you won't believe. Marcus took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. He had lived in this complex for years, paid his rent on time, knew his neighbors, and even greeted the security guards regularly. Yet here he was, being questioned like a stranger in his own home. Karen crossed her arms, tapping her foot impatiently. "I've never seen you here before," she said, her tone sharp. "Are you sure you live here?" Marcus pulled out his key fob and held it up. "This unlocks the gate. What more do you need?" But Karen wasn't backing down. Instead, she scoffed. "That doesn't prove anything. Anyone could have that." By now, a small crowd had gathered. Some whispered among themselves, while others pulled out their phones to record. The tension in the air was thick. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, Karen reached for her phone. And that's when everything changed. Karen's fingers hovered over her phone screen as she muttered, "Maybe I should call security." The way she said it made it clear. She wasn't asking for help. She was making a statement, a warning. Marcus let out a frustrated sigh. "Call them," he said firmly. "They know me." But before she could dial, another voice cut through the air. "Hey, what's going on?" A neighbor, Sarah, stepped forward, looking between the two. She lived a few doors down from Marcus and had seen him at the pool plenty of times. Karen turned to her, arms still crossed. "I was just making sure he actually lives here," she said, as if she were doing everyone a favor. Sarah frowned. Marcus has been here longer than I have. Why are you questioning him? More neighbors chimed in, and Karen's confidence started to shake. But instead of backing down, she doubled down. I just think we should all be careful, she insisted. Marcus clenched his jaw, trying to keep his cool. He had done nothing wrong, yet here he was, having to prove himself in front of his own community. And then, just as things reached a boiling point, security finally arrived. The moment the security guards stepped onto the pool deck, the energy in the air shifted. All eyes were on him as he adjusted his radio and approached. Karen immediately pointed at Marcus. I don't think he lives here, she said, her voice filled with certainty. He won't tell me his unit number. Marcus shook his head, his patience wearing thin. Because I don't have to, he replied. I live here, I pay rent. That should be enough. The security guard glanced at Marcus, then at Karen. Sir, do you have your key fob? Without hesitation, Marcus handed it over. The guard scanned it against the pool gate. A green light flashed. Proof that Marcus was exactly where he was supposed to be. For a brief moment, there was silence. Karen's face twisted in confusion. That doesn't mean anything, she stammered. People share fobs all the time. The crowd murmured. Some rolled their eyes, while others shook their heads. It was clear who was in the wrong, but Karen wasn't ready to admit it. Then, before anyone could respond, something unexpected happened. A familiar voice called out from behind the guard, and suddenly, the entire situation took a shocking turn. Everyone turned toward the voice. It was the apartment complex manager, Mr. Reynolds, walking briskly onto the pool deck. His expression was serious, his eyes scanning the tense crowd. What's going on here? He asked, his voice cutting through the murmurs. Karen immediately stepped forward. I was just making sure he actually lives here, she said, gesturing toward Marcus. I've never seen him before, and we need to be careful about who's using the amenities.